You're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day. Or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help.
The FHN network is sponsored in part by Hoddle Services. If you're looking for a disc jockey, karaoke host, video jockey to videographer, our company can help. With over 20 years of experience, we would be happy to help with your special event within Ontario, Canada. You can contact us at 226-988-2895 or visit us at our website at hoddleservices.vpweb.ca. That's HODDLE Services. We look forward to hearing from you and helping with your special event.
Hey, what's going on, Off the Puck hockey fans? Thanks for tuning in to our live recording, Season 3, Episode 19, Off the Puck Hockey on the FHN Network and ASTV. You can also view our live recordings on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Just follow at Off the Puck Hockey on all of our socials. Check us out. Make sure you drop us a follow. I'm going to have a cough here. I'm trying to fight it like crazy right now, so I'm going to do my quick cough.
All right, Finesi's gone now.
Did we lose him now? All right.
I think so. He kicked him out, I think. So we got Stiley there.
I kicked myself out.
Oh, you're making us sweat, man.
Cool. No, man, that was my fault 100%. I was trying to hit the cough button, and I hit the leave button because I don't want to no one wants to hear what's going on here. We got a full squad in here tonight, though. Finally, we got part-time Mike Walker, and we got Adam Stiles. What's going on, boys?
What's going on, Finesi? Glad to be back. It feels like it's been a while.
Yeah, I'd say. Yeah, you've got COVID. You got 12 kids to take care of. You're coaching a hockey team. First
trade deadline.
Trade deadline. Yeah, you got the Junior C boys moving all over the province trying to win hockey games. You guys ship anybody in from out west or what?
No, we looked into a couple players, but nothing really panned out for us. We picked up one kid out of Caledonia, younger guy, and I haven't even seen him play other than catching him at the odd practice. So looking forward to seeing what he's got for sure. I
was going to say, aren't you the GM? You should probably watch him before you take him.
Oh yeah,
just saying that's probably part of the job. Just
catch them at their practices and stuff. But I haven't had a chance to go watch many Junior B games. So
yeah, for sure, I gotcha. Well, you know what? Let's put it this way. I don't think if we would have been able to watch Andy Sutton play, I think everyone would have taken him. They probably would have watched them too before they got to the NHL. Just letting you know, Mikey Walks is part of the thing. You got to watch your players and then sign them, kind of how it works. But he had an incredible career, 676 NHL games, retired with the Edmonton Oilers, won Defensive Player of the Year at Michigan Tech, is now the current president of Verbero Hockey. I want to welcome Mr. Andy Sutton. How are you, fella?
Boys, how you guys doing? I'm doing well.
Yeah, I love the backdrop. The backdrop looks awesome.
Well, it's bought and paid for, as they say.
Yeah. What's out of all of them? What's your favorite jersey? Doesn't have to be favorite team you played for, but favorite jersey. What's the one you liked wearing the most?
Well, that original Shark. Where is it on the other side? That original Sharks one was pretty cool. It was a Nike jersey. It was like really lightweight and kind of had like a sheen to it. And I think the Thrashers one behind me is super cool. That blue and jagged one. And I think it was really cool for me just going to Ottawa when I did and getting to play in Canada for the first time. That was a big thrill. And then obviously finishing in Edmonton, I had a great finish there. It was a nice way to end my 15-year career.
Right. So I just quickly mentioned you're working with Verbero Hockey as the president. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But outside of that, what have you been doing to keep him busy? I kind of, elaborate a bit on that story you were telling us just be off air about the game you were playing a few weeks ago.
Oh, well, you mean here in Nashville?
Yeah, the retired All-Star retired game there.
Yeah, we relocated here just over a year ago from California. I'd been there the decade previous, and we got here. I knew Ryan Smith was here, but I didn't know much outside of that. And I had hoped that I could get into a good skate, being here just like once a week, just to stay in touch and stuff. And so I reached out to Smitty, and then lo and behold, Marty Erat's there, and Lubos Bartechko, and Bobby Ryan's here, and George Peros, and Mike Fisher, and Cody Hodgson, and like on and on down the line. Like, we've got an unbelievable crew of guys here. So we have an old man, a fat old man skate every Wednesday. We're all trying to still do it.
How competitive does it get?
Well, the one thing's for sure, and I'd say this is synonymous across all the players that I talk to, especially the ones like me that played a long time. Like, I want zero conflict. I mean, I lived in conflict for 15 years. Everything was a hairpin trigger. I'm tired, and I just want to go out and have a good time and dangle a bit, and have some fun, some camaraderie. So it's more of that vein with this group, and like, no one's chopping anybody. If anyone gets a step on anybody, they just let them go, and hopefully there's somebody coming behind, or we let the goalies deal with it. So it's pretty fun. We kind of rotate around who's in that week, and then Cody Hodgson runs it. He fills in with the guys he can get that come out, and they try really hard, but they're very respectful, obviously. So it's an awesome skate for us.
I love that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's a really nice way to stay connected to the game. And you mentioned Verbero. I actually have a president, but I'm the CEO and owner, and that's what I'm spending most of my time on, guys. To be honest with you, we've grown leaps and bounds. I mean, I can share how I came on to Verbero and all that if you guys want to get into the history of things. But I mean, that's what I spend all of my time on now, and have for several years now.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Yeah, I want to talk about that. Let's hear about it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, since we're on the topic, let's give her, man.
Well, I can roll through it. It's pretty straightforward. When I left the game officially in 2014, and at that time, I'd already been working on some intellectual property development. Really, like, with all the injuries I had and all the the way that I played the game, I've always been fascinated with equipment and how much of it has not evolved or changed. And then, playing in the NHL and having the opportunity to work with awesome equipment managers and stuff like that, I was always tweaking my stuff. Always had a super analytical mind. I studied engineering at school. So I started while I was still working to think about life after hockey, and started working in intellectual property development, and then subsequently licensing those intellectual properties to some of the top brands that are now competitors. So I did that for a few years, and that, like things do, all roads lead to Rome. And I ended up working as president of a multi-brand hockey company out of California. And I worked there as the president for a little over 4 years. And while I was there, I was part of some acquisitions. I did everything from, definitely learned everything from e-commerce to, warehouse management to, product development to, manufacturing, and everything along the way. And things started to change at the start of COVID, like it did for a lot of people. I had an opportunity to leave that company, and I parlayed some of my investments there, and then was able to take the Verbero brand outside, always with the intention to run it as a standalone. So, we took some of the best products that came forward with Verbero, and we've improved upon them. But then we brought in, we have the lightest stick on the market at 350 grams. We have the only 3D printed full custom helmet program in the game. Right away, I worked with my best friend, who's an elite level software programmer, and he helped me develop the only teams, 24/7, 365 team store software that any of the equipment brands have. So we set up these stores. They live 24/7, 365, and parents, fans, coaches, anybody can go on and get their team logoed items there. And in the store is all of our hard goods and everything. So it really makes us unique. And then we opened up the sales rep strategy, because in the traditional market, like Bauer and CCM rep would have a territory, and they'll work their territory, or, work as hard as they want to work in their territory, and then it's closed out to everybody. Well, and they're, the standard commission rate on team sales might be like, 3 to 5%. So I allowed our reps to sell anywhere and to anyone, build their own sub rep forces so they can work with their best friends and colleagues, and they can earn on those sales as well. It's not multi-level. It only goes one level deep, so people can work with their close associates and build a team. So we've amassed, and just to put it in perspective, Bauer had 50 reps worldwide pre-COVID. We've got right around 400. So and we're growing exponentially now because the reps are able to build their own rep force now. They've been trained up on the brand. They know all about product. They know all about our programs, our pricing, how to sell it. We do a really good job at putting all those tools in a place that's accessible for people that want to work with us. And then so they've got the tools to be successful and hunt for themselves and kill for themselves. And then they can go out and bring people in that they want to inspire to come on board and join the crusade. So that's allowed us to grow really quickly. We're definitely an apparel company as much as we are an equipment company. The bulk of our sales are game wear, all the jerseys and socks, sweaters and socks, shells, bags, custom gloves, off-ice apparel, headwear. That's the backbone of the business. And then, like I said, we have some really incredible equipment that coincides with that. So we're a one-stop shop. We've even got a performance section in our team stores, selling stuff like nutritional supplements. And, we have about 30 ex-NHLers on our staff, about 30 PHPA members, about 20 of the top women in the game, all comprised in our rep force. Our reps are single moms. We have a single mom that's one of our best sales reps. And seriously, league commissioners, coaches, agents. We're even partnered with groups like Elite Prospects and other groups on the digital side. Different podcasts are our partners. Anybody that has a platform that's looking for a secondary way to generate revenue, or even a primary way. A lot of our guys and girls have started to make this a full-time job. So, but it's something that we offer out that way, and that's the way we're growing. It's really compounding, as I said, and it's very grassroots, very guerrilla style, which is really getting us to the point of play, which I think is where the other brands have fallen away. They went more towards, hey, we're going to market high level NHL players. We're going to sell top down, whereas we're coming in and we're going bottom up. Right. So we're building relationships. We're connecting with our brand partners. We're building a story together. We're true effective partners. And then we apply all kinds of things after the order process is complete. And even during the process, we have a complete automation side. So, I don't know if you guys do DoorDash up there or whatever, but or Uber Eats, we're essentially becoming like that for custom products, which is crazy.
Oh,
so, all the communication from start to finish is there. So, on our glove, like you guys are showing there, that's our stock glove. We got all those colors in stock. It's a really great glove at a really good price. And then our custom glove is an exact replica of that product. And then we give up the cuff space. So instead of it saying Verbero, it could say Off the Puck. We do gloves for podcasts. I've got some right here.
Crazy.
This is Elite Prospects. So we gave up the cuff space and we built these for Elite Prospects. Wow. So we're doing all kinds of progressive things that are
there you go.
allowing us to, be cool and be relevant in the game, and then, speak to people at the source, because we get in with our reps they live in a city, or they're from somewhere and they know someone who's a commissioner or he's a coach, and whatever the thing is, we're getting into accounts because we're kind of like the LinkedIn of hockey, hockey brands. We've got a great network and an ecosystem that once people come in, they're like, wow, this is really nice. Because in any given transaction, say with a team, there could be a lead rep, a sub rep. I might be on the call. They might have 3 or 4 of our other employees. They might have 8 people on a Zoom call talking about their needs for the upcoming season. Right. And then those people are all involved along the way. So we're very different from every other, really apparel and jersey company on the map. We really are. We're completely different. And then, I challenge anybody listening to try our equipment. It's legit. We have a simple program. We've got one stick, one glove, one pant. And the principle there is have the best product in category and not focus on changing it so we can build loyalty, because the other brands, like, everybody needs to understand that they interchange graphics mostly. They'll tell you you're getting more for it. And it's really only because they stuff the retailer with new product to pad their numbers. It's not about sales. It's not about profitability. They let the retailers carry, 10, 20, $30 million in debt, and it's all just a big debt service. It's not about product development. It's not about value. It's not about anything but the model that they've created. So we're working to change that messaging in the game.
I like that product development you said, because I was really interested to find out that you guys had actually done a female stick for Haley Wickenheiser. I think that is very late, and I'm glad you guys did it. I think it's going to be fantastic, and I think if it's marketed correctly and the ladies pick up on it, it's going to do really well.
Well, look, and let me be clear, because the messaging was a little bit convoluted by what CBC picked up from the article, but it's not a women's stick. Okay. It's our stick, which is the best stick. It's the lightest stick. My belief is if you have the lightest stick, you can move your hands the fastest, means you can evade people quicker. It just makes sense. If you think about, say, where women or girls hockey players have a different strength set to, say, a man, then why should they have a heavier stick? It makes zero sense for a woman. So what I prefer to say is that this is a very well suited product for women's hockey.
I like that.
And we offer it in every flex, every shaft profile, the predominant curves, including Haley's. So we're able to get this in the hands of a lot of people who get it, who need to experience our product, and then also the ones that want to support, like, just an absolute legend in the game. And you're right, like, it's insane that this didn't happen until now, that the Wick stick was never created until
such a good marketing tool too.
Until 2022. It's ridiculous. It's incredible to me that never happened. That's like saying Wayne Gretzky never had a stick. No one ever did a custom stick for Wayne Gretzky. It's ridiculous.
Well, I'm glad you guys went out and did it. I really am.
Yeah, it's about time. And I love like you said, Andy, like, you got one of everything. You kind of you don't have, like, I know I was a goalie growing up, so I kind of get confused. Now I play out in men's leagues, so there's nothing special or anything. But when I go to buy equipment, even now for my kids, I get confused with the Bauer 2000, Bauer 8000, Bauer this, that, or that. You know what I mean? All the different levels and things. And I like the way you guys keep it simple, where it's each, and like you said, you put your focus into one thing. It's the best of the best, each thing. Why? Like, and most of the times, Bauer or whatever probably just put a different sticker on half the products, and it's different, but how is it really different? Most people don't really know. They just see the name and the price. Yeah, it's better, so they buy it. So I love how you just have the one thing all along. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, and we want to stay that way. And I always tell this story about what a lot of people don't understand, right? So the difference between, say, a $200 retail skate and a $1,200 retail skate is about $50 at manufacturing level.
Yeah.
Right. So what you're paying for when you buy the other brands is you're paying for a lot of the stuff that they have in their infrastructure, right? High level ambassador arrangements, all kinds of expensive marketing, CEO bonuses, the program that they have with all the retailers, and how it's just an absolutely failing market. I mean, it's the very reason why there's been bankruptcy consistently by these companies, over the years. It's a flawed model, and never more so than now. I mean, that's why they launched Bauer.com. I mean, they're like, we're going to compete with you dealers because we're not winning the race. It's a cyber world, and people want to buy online. So they're trying, but they've also got these other relationships they're dragging forward, and it's just not set up for the modern world.
And
when did you go? Sorry, go ahead and go.
You kind of intrigued me when you also said about the 24/7, 365 service. What kind of dig into that a little bit more? What's that all about? Well,
it's really just to make product accessible, so you guys can pull it up if you want to. People can look at it. There's a demo store you can look at. So it's just verbero.com/EP, like E like Edward, P like Penrose, or Elite Prospects, epdemo.com. So /epdemo.com. And you guys can just look at what the store looks like. In its essence, it's a partnership portal. Right. So we give 10% credit back to the associations on purchases through the store. So if the associations know that, then they have a vested interest to tell their customer base, which is the parents, the kids, the whole thing. They have that database. Hey, look, go here to get your things. Hey, look, there's a stick sale. Hey, look over here, there's custom glove offering. Hey, look over here, there's a a seasonal campaign, whatever it is. That's where that lives. And then we work to, more than anything, try to take most everything off of the team manager's plate, the association director's plate, to make it so we manage all of the logistics around their order process to make things really simple. Because the current model is, you've got like a team manager, right? And he or she is doing this on top of their full-time job. Maybe their kids in the association, maybe they're not. They're unpaid. And it's a really hard job to get a complete, say, association or a big team outfitted with custom items. So, and they're doing it after hours, and you have to have a certain skill set and really a team. So we come in and basically, for our rep force or even our teams, like we pay really well for referrals. And we essentially work to do the rest with the teams so that our reps can be out focusing on getting the next account. And then we take it as our job to make sure that the order goes in properly, that it gets shipped properly, that it gets delivered properly, that you have everything you need, that, we notify you when it's time for reorder, when there's special campaigns we're running, whatever it is. Our job is to make the life easier for those people. And then in that, we say, okay, look, like, let's figure out how we partner here to make this even more valuable. Like, tell people to start using the store, right? So they're pointing their group back there, and we just build trust in this little ecosystem. And then because we have, a really broad cross-section offering, it's a pretty awesome place for the team to be introduced.
You've got a pretty good business savvy to you. Did you learn that? Like, when did all this start? When you played for St. Mike's?
Well,
did you go to school as well, or did you just play for the junior team? Sorry to interrupt.
No, I went there, and I got a scholarship, and I went to St. Michael's College in northern Michigan, and I studied environmental engineering. And I always had an analytical mind, for sure. Like, I was always thinking about how things can be different. And then really, like, and I say this to people all the time, they're like, I really started to be a businessman per se, like 2014, but like, I managed a 15-year career before that. And I did a lot of transactions that I was very much a part of, with my agent and with the general managers that were associated with the teams I was playing for. So, I mean, in a lot of ways, I've been doing business for a long time. And I think that, like most things, the things I learned along the way, I've been able to apply to what I'm doing. And, even in playing, there's so much there that you have to apply to business, commitment, right? You've got to work your ass off. You've got to spend the time. You've got to, you've got to believe when others don't. You've got to persevere. I mean, you've got to work as a team. There's a million things that I learned in playing that I apply to business now. So it's kind of, it's been great. And then the team that we've been able to create, I work with a lot of my great friends. I've met a lot of new people that I would consider great friends in this. So we've created the team that I lost when I retired. And that's honestly probably the thing I missed the most, right? Was being with the boys and having that camaraderie. So, Verbero has reintroduced that to me. Like, I've actually, signed on some people I played minor hockey in Burlington, Ontario as reps. It's crazy, and partners. And one of them in particular is a guy that I played minor hockey with that runs a humongous program in the Chicago area, and we're getting started on it. We're working on this program together. It looks like he's going to come on as a rep and make some introductions as well. So, I mean, it's affirmation to me that, we are part of something special as people that love the game. We share a special place, I think, in that. And, I'm just so thankful for having been able to invest my life in it, and all the wonderful people I've met along the way.
Andy, I just want to touch in, what's the background story with your name, and how do you specifically pick that name? And is there any kind of a background story behind it?
Yeah. So I can't take credit for picking the name Verbero. It's a great name because it's Latin, and in Latin, it's literally means to beat, lash, scourge, or drum. So like literally just to obliterate shit. The status quo being one of those things. And then a tagline that I inherited as well is be different, right? So the BE from Verbero, it makes, be different. And that's what we embody. We're going to be different. We're going to work differently. I'm going to add a lot of the outside things that I've learned into this business to be really progressive and really modernize things. We're going to do things that other brands just can't do and won't do with the accounts to bring value. And, we're just going to keep making each day better than the day before, the same way that when I played, that was the only thing you could do. You go out the next day or the next shift or the next game, and you try to make things better. Right. So all these things that applied to my long professional career are definitely coinciding here in my business life.
Well, I want to kind of tie your hockey and your business life together because you obviously went to Michigan Tech for 4 years, and your last year you put up 40 points, which is pretty crazy, obviously, because your most of your career, except for when you were at St. Mike's, you weren't much of a big point guy. For some reason, all of a sudden you're putting up these points. But as you're graduating, you've obviously going through for engineering, which is a fantastic career, but you're still a pretty damn good hockey player. At what point did you have to make the decision? Like, I think I want to go play in the NHL. I got to put this kind of on the back burner, but I'm going to keep it as part of my life.
Well, I'll tell you, I had nothing going the first 3 years. I don't want to get into the whole history of it, but I got a scholarship as a forward, and I was asked if I wanted to move to defense my sophomore year. I said yes. My junior year was not much to behold, and I had an opportunity to take an internship with the U.S. Navy that summer. Really great opportunity for somebody studying engineering. And I said, no, I want to give this one last kick at the can. So I stayed at school that year, worked hockey schools and stuff, and worked out no harder than I normally did, and just kind of set my mind that, hey, this could be it. And now keep in mind, I'm completely undrafted, right? So I'm like, I don't know what becomes of this. If I play a year or two in, Europe or the East Coast League, maybe that would be great. And then I'll go to medical school because that's what I really wanted to do. And anyways, the senior season came about, and everything I touched worked, and the coaching staff and the management believed in me, and I got a ton of ice time, and, got to, play the top of the power play. And we had a really great playmaker there named Andre Savage, and he loaded me up for a lot of points that year for sure. And I went from having $6 in my bank account to signing for the rookie max with the Sharks, and 14 different teams trying to sign me. So it was a really crazy transformation. And the game's given me everything: my education, certainly my time in the NHL, and now Verbero, and onward from here.
Yeah, and you said I had a question there about your transformation there from forward to D. Do you think if you never made that transformation, do you think you ever would have made the NHL, or do you think that would have been a possibility?
Oh man, Adam, I don't know. It's like, well, I'll tell you another story, which is interesting, and the answer is probably no. and then I can remember when I was in Minnesota, the first year I played as a defenseman, and into the second season, Jacques Lemaire, who says no to Jacques Lemaire, he sees that I can, and I always skated pretty well for a big guy. So it bought me some opportunity, and I had decent enough hands that I could do some things. So I got an opportunity to play in front of the net on the power play, and it went well early on. So Jacques tried to turn me into a forward, and then I got injured. And when I came back, I never really got into the fold. And I can remember I got in a game, and I guess I thought I played pretty well in Detroit. And I went to Mike Ramsey, who was, also a legend in the game. And I said, hey, Rammer, he ran the D. I said, hey, Rammer, I think I'm just meant to be a defenseman in this league. I think I got a way better chance to succeed. And keep in mind, I'm in my 4th season, right? So, and he looks me square in the face, and he says, Sutsy, you'll never be a defenseman in this league. Right?
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
Oh, shit.
I don't even remember the space between, but sometime, shortly thereafter, I went into GM Doug Riseborough, who's another legend of the game. And I said, Doug, and I did this by myself. You talk about business transactions. I didn't even ask my agent. I did this myself. I said, Doug, if there's any way you could trade me somewhere where I could be a defenseman, I would really appreciate it, because I think that's what I'm meant to do in the game. And he traded me to Atlanta 7 days later. And that's where it really all began for me. So I think we have a destiny in some ways. And then some, I can't tell you how many times I had these sort of sliding doors moments or forks in the road or whatever you want to call it. And oftentimes it was just like, almost like it was, you were destined to go there if you make that hard decision or whatever it is, and I was going to live, I was always, and I'm this way now, I'll always live by the sword, die by the sword. I'm never going to feel too badly or worry too much about anything that happened in the past, because you do your best in the moment to use the information you have and try to trust your gut and your instincts and execute. So that's thankfully that worked out, and I tacked another 10 years on top.
Unbelievable.
I want to go.
What did it there? Sorry, go Adam.
Just a one Verbero question back. I kind of want to talk about it, hit on. How did the Trashers collab come around, and how has that been going for you? I suppose it's been hot.
I like that.
Let us know.
So the true story, and it's actually a good one. Unbeknownst to us, we did up some beer league jerseys like months before the documentary came out, and it was a Trasher style beer league jersey, right? And they got posted on our social or something. This was like, I think, after the documentary, or it was found by AJ, right? So he chirps us on Twitter. And my guy reaches out. He's like, dude, you're never going to believe who just chirped us on Twitter. I said, who? So he tells me AJ Galante. And I said, oh, my God. I said, keep him on the hook. I said, send him this video. So I texted my media guy a video of me fighting Mike Rupp and getting lit up at the end. But it's a good fight. I said, send that to him and tell him the CEO wants to talk to him. So he did. And we set up a call the next day. And instead of being pissed, he loved the whole deal. And he said, I want to do all of our custom work with you guys. So we ran a campaign that went incredibly well. We were just there, I think last weekend, or time's flying on me, but like last weekend or whatever. And we went in and got all the jerseys signed by AJ and Jimmy, which was insane.
Wow.
Yeah, guys, it was unbelievable. And they're the nicest people you'll ever meet in your entire life. We're going back up to do some more stuff with them. It looks like we're going to drop the white versions here pretty quick. Probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks, We're going to drop the home versions. But it's gone really well. We did a couple different renditions there and some custom stuff, and it's been a fun program.
Yeah, he was a guest on our show, and we absolutely loved it. We had so many viewers on that one; it was fantastic. And we're hoping. We actually think I think we're in the running for getting a jersey. So once they get here, we're definitely going to be pumping. We're all going to be wearing it, so we'll be pumping tires for sure.
Findsy, I was just talking with him today, over the weekend, and I mentioned that I was having Andy on and stuff, and was saying he's such a good dude and everything, and he said to say hi or whatever, and he was an amazing guest. We all loved him on here. And what a story that is, and
it is
just amazing, man.
Yeah, it's one of the best, and they're very forthcoming, especially once they've welcomed you in. And I'll tell you this story, and I can't make this up. So I'm one day I'm driving or whatever I'm doing, and a call comes out. I didn't recognize the number, and leave a voicemail, and it's like, Andy, it's Jimmy Galante. He's like, I need to speak with you. I have a couple of items I need to discuss. Please call me your convenience. So I'm like, holy crap, like Jimmy Galante just called me. And this is before I get to know him, right? I don't know anything about anything. So I call him back. We get connected. We proceed to talk for like 30, 35 minutes, family, life, business, everything. And we had a great conversation. And at the end, he goes, Andy, I want you to know you're in the Galante family now. And he's like, he literally said this. Anybody fucks with you, you let them know you're in the Galante family.
I was gonna say, I'm like, you're good for life, but you don't do him any favors.
Well, that's what the guys are saying, right? We were going through the process, and he'd send an email and be like, hey, can you send me over the up-to-date accounting and stuff, right? So I'm like, I wake up at like 2:30 in the morning. I'm like, I got to get this accounting done for Jimmy on this thing, because we had a whole business set up like for the thing. So I sat down and I reread that thing like 25 times before I hit send, right? Because you got to get it right. You got to get it right with the man. You know, he's been around the block. You know, he knows what's up, and it's been incredible working with those guys.
Awesome.
Andy, just kind of, I want to ask you about Ilya Kovachuk, but I'll save that for later.
Well, we can talk about him anytime you want. I say the same thing about him every time somebody asks. So,
I want to bring up first. You were traded from New York to Ottawa. What was it like finally getting to play back home in Canada for a Canadian team?
Well, I mean, you literally brought up probably my favorite moment as a player over the entirety of my career. You know, my family's in Kingston, Ontario, so they were close enough that they were at every game, and to come home, and you know, I had a great year that year, and I was fortunate to get picked up by a team that had a legit chance. You know, you think about, you know, Alfredsson, Spezza, you know, Erik Karlsson was my D partner. You know, it's just like there's you know, so many more. You know, with Nealer there and Chris Phillips and Volchenkov, and I mean Chris Kelly, and it was an unbelievable team. You know, and we had Kovalev was there, and it goes on and on. I mean, the team had Daniel Alfredsson's like the most incredible athlete I've ever played with. He's just an insane player. I mean, so we had a real chance, and then to come home and be home in Canada again felt so amazing for me to experience that. I can still remember we played Pittsburgh in their prime in the playoffs, and it was an undertaking, as you guys can imagine. They took us down in 6, but I can remember that first home game when they passed the Canadian flag around the lower bowl, and everyone in the building was singing, and every hair on my body stood up, and I was like, holy shit, this is fucking unbelievable. You know, this is the most incredible experience. So it was electric, you know, and just such an incredibly professional organization. And I had the best time while I was there. And I would say the same applied, you know, at the end in Edmonton. I thankfully got to finish my career in Canada, and that was a really incredible experience too, with all those first round picks there. You know, Eberle, Hall, Nugent Hopkins. You know, we had Devin Dubnyk. I mean, we had Sam Gagner. We had so many incredible players there when I was there, and it was really, really fun to be part of that growth.
That's awesome. Yeah, and then go ahead, Siley.
No, go Bucks. No, go Bucks.
You guys should put a hand up or something like that.
No, we normally do, but we don't. That's why we have a producer. We don't care. We just edit it.
All right.
Yeah.
You can even make walks look good, eh?
Yeah, we do our
best. That's right. So, just the Ilya Kovachuk stories. I mean, you went to Atlanta, and he was pretty young, probably in his prime. Start of his prime, anyways. What was he like in the room and as a person outside of the rink?
Well, I'll tell you the whole story. So when I got to Atlanta, both Heater and Kovachuk were there, and they were in their second year, and they were two of the most phenomenal talents I've ever seen in my life. Now that said, they were two completely different people. You know, Ilya, he was out of his element because his English wasn't strong. Right. Slava Kozlov was there, I think, to look over him, and I think he felt a little isolated. And you know, Bob Hartley was a tough coach, and I don't think Ilya understood what was going on. So I think he retracted into some selfishness, you know, but he also what else are you supposed to do? You don't understand everything. You're just you kind of retract in. So that's the sense I got of him, you know, and I probably was a little harsh on him, because I mean, I should try to crank him in practice and stuff. It rubbed me the wrong way. And then Heater was the guy that when I got traded there, the first practice, you know, and I'm nervous. So you're always nervous your first practice with a new team and stuff. And I remember going in the corner, whatever the drill was, and he came and crashed into me. He's like, "What's up, Sutsy? How's everything going, buddy?" And he's a second year player. Think about that. He recognized that I needed to feel comfortable and went out of his way to do that. And that's what I remember of Danny. And then, you know, Danny before the accident was he was such a dynamic player. He really, could skate through neutral zone. His jersey looked like Mike Modano. And then obviously, the accident with Dan Snyder happened and things really changed for us there in Atlanta. But the two guys were two of the most phenomenal talents I'd ever experienced, and to be there with them both, like at that time when they weren't afraid to try anything on the ice. It was incredible. Like some of the shit that those guys would do out there in a game was just like, we just sit back and be like, what the hell is going on here? Like, it's just absolutely unreal.
How tough was that as a team? I was going to mention it because I've got the book on it from Dan Schneider though, and I've never the closest thing I've had come through is that I had a parent pass away on a team, but not a player, and I've never been a part of that, and I don't wish that about anybody's worst enemy, but what was that like going through that?
It was terrible, and Dan was one thing that most people don't remember, like Dan and Danny were best friends, right? Yep. They lived together. They were best friends. And, we were a close team, and, Dan came to my place for dinner a lot. And he was one of the, like, he was like an old soul, like you ever meet those people that just like, and just such a like heart of a lion and just completely unafraid. And the guy you always rooted for. And he had a smile and a brightness that was just, magnetic. And we were all in love, with Dan for sure. And when it happened, obviously it was so all of a sudden, and everyone was also very worried about Danny and what had gone on, because it wasn't like they were out and they were doing things they shouldn't have been doing. Were they driving a little too fast? Yeah, probably. Have we all done that? Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's like it was a really tough deal on everybody, and obviously nobody worse than the Snyder, the Heatley family, and certainly Danny. But we tried to be there. We tried to rally around. It was tough to come back from. I don't know that the organization ever really did.
That's true. I never really thought about that. It's true. Actually, you know what? Just going back, even looking at the stats and all, and the history of the club from that moment on, you're right. It was the same.
Yeah.
I never even really realized the pattern, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a monumental moment, because, Heater had a nasty. The accident affected him a lot. I mean, his body was real messed up too, and he had to have knee surgery and some other stuff, and he was messed up for a while. And then obviously the emotional side of it, and it just changed things. It's just changed the trajectory of things. So, but it was, Atlanta was Atlanta. I mean, I ended up spending a decade there when it was all said and done. So, I mean, I love the South. That's why I'm back in Nashville now, and the Southern people are incredible, and it's such a wonderful place to be. So I definitely relished my time there. It was probably the most special collection of time I ever spent.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch back when you were saying his best time of your career there, getting traded to Ottawa. I don't know if you've ever heard. I'm sure you have, but I came across an article there, and Don Cherry happened to mention it when you got traded. He said it was the biggest trade of the trade deadline, or the trade of the year. In fact, because of your physical play and what you would have brought to Ottawa in the playoffs, and what you did with your hit on Jordan Leopold. You just absolutely crushed the poor guy, and Walker sure knows that. He's a Penguins fan. I'm sure he can remember that one pretty well. But what did that mean, just to have a compliment from such being a Canadian boy growing up playing hockey, playing the NHL, and have a compliment from such a hockey god like Don himself?
Well, I'd actually never heard that before, so that's pretty cool. No, I'd never heard that before. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, what an honor, honestly. The whole thing was kind of surreal going there, and just being part of that amazing team, and that I felt so powerful in that uniform too. It just felt so good. The all black was so slick, and the red was so sharp and on point. And the fans and the way the city wraps around the team, and they were definitely all on our side for sure. It was such a cool deal, and then just really such a professionally run organization, and it was really just an incredible time all the way around. And then to be able to share it with my family and friends was pretty awesome. It was the only real chance I had to do that, being from Ontario and all. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Speaking about I actually wanted to touch on the hit there, Styles. Is nowadays they talk about head contact, and you said you guys are doing a custom made helmet at Verbero, and obviously looking to the best concussion protection you can possibly administer. If you had to go back, okay, and again, you be as honest as you can with the question. If you had to go back and throw that hit again, is there anything you would change about it now, knowing what we know, 10 years later?
It's a great question. It's honestly a great question. And I've said a few times, that I feel, I heard a lot of people over the course of my career. I mean, it was part of what I was paid to do in a way. And, that came up from guys that I watched, like the first guy that I watched was Brian Marchment when I came to the Sharks. I mean, Brian knocked like 10 people out cold.
It's true though. Yeah, absolutely.
Like just nasty open ice hits. And then if he had to fight after, he like beat the shit out of guys. Like I was just like, holy crap, this is such a unique way to play the game. And I loved to hunt in neutral zone. Like I really did. I loved the big hit. Like I would almost take it over a goal or something else, and it kind of fit in line with what I did, blocking shots and, playing guys hard in the defensive zone and stuff like that, making a good first pass and, trying to minimize mistakes and stuff like that. So it ended up being just a part of the fabric of the way I played. And then it was also really a part of the way the game was and the game was evolving. And, it came to a screeching halt when I was with the Oilers and they, they made a poster child of me and, suspended me for the Landeskog hit and then suspended me for the hit on Ponikarovsky, and I'll tell you guys this story just quickly. And the answer is yes. I do the same thing again. But then in the end, when I was in Edmonton, I remember I'd been suspended the 2 times and I was back for like 2-3 games. And this is a true story too. This is a crazy story. So I go to the rink in the morning, not thinking anything of it, right? Like I think I'd actually played pretty well since I came back, and I felt great to be back in the lineup. And I walked in, and Tom Rennie, who was our coach at the time, said, "Hey Andy, do you mind coming in here for a minute?" And I was like, "Sure, no problem, Tom." Like, so I go in the room, and all the coaches are in there, the management's there, and they've got a big screen that we do like video sessions on, and it's fucking Brendan Shanahan's head like 10 feet around like this, and I'm like, "Oh, this isn't going to be good." Yeah, this isn't going to be good. So he's like, "Oh, can you sit down?" I said, "No, I think I'll stand. If you don't mind." And so Brendan proceeds to queue up like 3 more video clips from my first 2 or 3 games back. And he's like, I could have suspended you again for any one of these 3 hits. And he's like, you better figure this out quickly or you are going to be like the last dinosaur to fall and go extinct because it's your career is over. Like I can't, I'm making like monumental changes to the fabric of the game of hockey. And you're undermining what I'm trying to do by not paying attention to what the rules are.
Wow.
I was like, oh yeah. So that was the beginning of the end. And, I think I never really even got a swan song of any kind. Like I remember that same year, we weren't going to make the playoffs and they brought up a bunch of kids from the minors and they were like, Sutsy, just take it easy, like work hard on practices and everything. And you're probably going to sit out the rest of the way. We'll just save you up for next year. I was like, perfect. That's fine. And then I remember like the night we played, I think back-to-back games to finish the season. And like we played at home and then we were in Vancouver and I think like 2 or 3 defensemen went down in the game. Like they were hurt. And I'd been working hard, but I was having a good time too. Don't get me wrong. And they came to me and said, "Hey, you're going to have to play tomorrow." And I was like, "Fuck you. I'm not playing tomorrow." They're like, "No, you're playing tomorrow." And I was like, "Oh my God, are you kidding me?" So I was like, all right, well, so I go out for this game and, this is when Sedins are there, Kessler, like Burrows, they've got just nasty team, Edler, like just nasty. And we weren't very good. And we had a lot of like non-regulars in the lineup. So it was probably gonna be a long night. So I played that game literally trying not to get hurt because I had 14 surgeries in a 16-year period. And, I wasn't looking to have another one at the end of the year. No. So I finished that year and then Tom Rennie calls me in again at the end of the year. He says, "Andy, great season." I'd signed another year extension and I was really excited to get back. Right. And give it another kick at the can. I'm 38 years old. Like everything's gravy at this point. And Tom calls me in and he says, "Hey, I want you to know you're probably only going to play like 40 games next year." I looked at him. I'm like, "Tom, well, you know me well enough to know that I'm not going to fucking accept that. So thank you, but no, thank you. And I'll see you at training camp." So I go back home for the summer and I'm like hell bent to be in the best shape of my life. I was training twice a day, like just like a nut job. And I ended up I was doing these jump squats with like the bar and bands on the floor and these double leg bounds. And so anyways, it's a long story, but I ended up breaking off a piece of the base of my femur in my knee joint, and it took like all kinds of cartilage with it and all kinds of stuff. So I tried to skate like the 3 weeks after, and like I'd skate Monday and the thing would swell up like this. I did that for like the third week. My agent's like, you got to get your ass to Edmonton, because they were right about to discuss whether or not there was gonna be a lockout or not. And so I got in there, and the orthopedic surgeon comes to me after the MRI, and he says, he literally walked in like this, and he goes, "What the fuck have you been doing?" I was like, what do you mean? And so he tells me what I did, and I told him how I did it. And he's like, yeah, we're going to take that out like later today, because I'm pretty sure that's probably not very comfortable for you. I'm like, no, it's pretty bad. Like feels like someone jamming a knife in my leg. So I had that, and then I needed to have another experimental surgery. And at the time, it just didn't align for me to go back and play. And I retired. So my last game, I went out like a putz. But other than that, it was a great run.
I was gonna say, I'm sure a lot of guys have gone out worse. So
yeah,
right. Well, if only you knew too, right? That's just it. Like you had no idea that's your last game. You knew, I'm sure you could.
Yeah. There was no like goodbye, no party. There wasn't anything. My agent didn't even send me a bottle of champagne, for crying out loud. So
and he even qualified for the friggin' pension.
I know. Could have got a pension society. Something. Somebody could have said, "Hey, congrats." So.
Yeah, anyways, he's got to give you a pen or a pen or something.
A pen, a backpack. Give me something. Yeah.
Not too many. I wonder how many guys. I'm actually going to look it up. Have played. I want to look it up. Who've played 646 games. I want to look it up. I can actually find out how many people.
I missed more games. I missed more games due to injury over the course of my career than any other player during that time period. So
I guess that would make sense, because you played for 15 years.
Yeah, so when I signed with this is another funny story. Yeah. When I signed with the Islanders, Garth Snow was the GM there, and he was a younger GM, and he's kind of he liked to joke around and stuff like that. So I remember I signed there, and I signed a nice deal, but I'd come off like a couple of really good seasons in Atlanta, and when I went in, I said, "Oh, you got a great deal on me, eh?" Like this. He goes, "What are you?" He goes, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Oh, you got a great deal on me." He goes, "Buddy," he's like, you play 40 games a year. You're the highest paid player we have on the team." I was like,
well, I just did the math. I was like, yeah, you played 50% of the games. Like if you would have played 82 games at 15 years, you would have been at about 1230.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you picked 6, 7. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I went through 2 lockouts, right? 05, 06, and then also the 13-14 one. So I missed, those two years were missed. I went to Switzerland for the first one, and then I tried to rehab in the second one, and I couldn't get it done in time to play, and a few other things were happening personally for me, and I just decided to shut her down.
I know you don't ever. I know back in Michigan, you said you never expected to make the NHL. You weren't sure. What was it like sitting with the GM and you look down and you see 6 figures on that contract and go, "This is not a bad way to make a living"?
Yeah, it was crazy, honestly. Like I still remember, because I was just like, "Wow, are you kidding me?" I almost couldn't believe it, And then I go into San Jose. They asked me to go pro right away. So I went down to Lexington, Kentucky. I think we played a few games. Then there was playoff. And then from there, I actually got invited to be a black ace with the Sharks, which was so cool. So they were, so when I got there, Owen Nolan and Mike Ricci and, Gary Suter, Mike Vernon, like just an insane. Owen Nolan was like in his prime, like pointing at top corners in all-star games when I got there. Like it was ridiculous.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Just an insane group of like just phenomenal legends of the game. And so it was on, man. It went from, from
cool
college and not even having to take book money to be able to eat, to being able to, pretty much do whatever I wanted. It was pretty nuts.
Being a millionaire, that's crazy, right? You never expect that coming out of. That's unbelievable. No, I always think that's the coolest story. I do.
Yeah, and I, for me, I think I was always humble in it. Like I don't know. Even when I was there, I was never comfortable. And I also always felt like very appreciative of everything, like being able to fly the way we fly, eat the meals, like the whole thing. I felt so thankful for it all. Like I never took it for granted in any way. And maybe it's because it was never given to me. I had to go out and take it and make it. that happened throughout the career. I had to change form a million times to stick around, and you got to, do shit you don't want to do. And, you've got to, lift up when you got to lift up. You got to keep your mouth shut when you got to keep it shut. And, it's just, you've got to wear a lot of different masks over 15-year career.
Yeah. Owen Nolan, he was, I always loved the guy since the big Leafs fan. When he came to the Leafs, I was going nuts. And just, like you said, that's a big memory. Him pointing top corner, shooting exactly what he said, hat trick and it all. Yeah, just amazing. I wanted to talk when you got selected by the Wild in the expansion draft. What was kind of all of that process like for you? And was it the same format as it is today? Was it kind of so many people protected? How did all that work back then?
Oh, way different.
Yeah, same deal. So I had a couple issues in San Jose, and really in hindsight, probably burnt some bridges there. But I was young and ambitious, and I didn't know any other way. I was chomping at the bit, and so they exposed me in the expansion draft, and thankfully the Wild picked me up, because if they didn't, I don't know what that would have done for me in my career. They might have buried me, or I might have just been one of these guys that just went to the minors and just never got back. And thankfully I got that second kick at the can there, and went in there, and that was a transformative process. But I'll tell you, it was so cool to be part of that team, and coming back to the state of hockey and everything like that. And it was being in NHLer Energy Center, which was at the time, and still is. Like, I was there last week. It's still state of the art. 20 years later, it's still state of the art. So and then talk about another totally professional organization. Like, they hired right, and they continue to. I mean, now they got Billy G in there, who I played with, and Billy's one of the most stand-up guys you'll ever meet, and they're in great care there with a guy like that at the helm.
Yeah. And then, I found it so interesting. You went from Minnesota to Atlanta, one expansion to the other. What was the differences in the two? Like, can you tell, obviously one's around, one's still not around. Could you tell right from the get-go that would be the case, or how was the two differences in the two expansions?
Well, in my opinion, Minnesota had a better base infrastructure out of the gates. They had arguably the best coach of all time as the head coach, right? So that's a great place to start. When I got to Atlanta, no offense to Kurt Fraser, but he wasn't Jacques Lemaire, and there is a marked difference between the coaches that are great, just like the players, and the ones that are trying to be great. So Atlanta had some of those issues, and then really probably some, leadership, I think. And then we got it to a place finally where we were super competitive in that formerly Southeast Division. And we played 8 times a year against, Ovechkin, 8 times a year against Lecavalier and St. Louis. We had Eric Cole and Eric Stahl in Carolina. And it was a pretty strong division, just looking back at it. So we elevated to a point in 2007 where we finally made the playoffs, and we were first in the division and the whole thing. And that team had virtually no playoff experience, except for a handful of guys that they brought in, and there were some legends they brought in. They brought in Keith Tkachuk, and I think Scott Mellenby was there, and I think we had Bobby Holik, and Greg DeVries had won a cup in Colorado, and we had some guys there that were a big part of that, but we just couldn't take on the Rangers in that series. They swept us, and that was basically the end of hockey in Atlanta, competitive hockey. And shortly thereafter, they obviously moved. So it was definitely a lightning in a bottle a little bit, that 2006, 2007 season.
Well, Andy, it's comes to that time. We only get so much to be able to put up on TV. So I want to thank you so much for coming on. And your story's fantastic. Just unbelievable. I'm actually really intrigued about how intelligent you are, and how far you've come on the business side of things, and how you kept that going through hockey. Because there's not a lot of guys, unfortunately, that get to be president and CEOs after they're done their career. That's for sure.
Well, I appreciate that, Findsy. It's like anything, it's you work, you plug away at it, and try to do better tomorrow than you did today. And thankfully I got a great family around me. It gives me a lot of support, and it's tiring, but it's really fun being part of something that's building, that's really becoming great.
Well, we wish you the best success with Verbero Hockey, and I want to thank everybody that was for watching. We got some great questions coming through Facebook. You can catch Off the Puck every Saturday night, 9 p.m. Rogers TV, Channel 20, Channel 13, London, St. Thomas, and Kitchener. Make sure you guys are checking out Off the Puck Hockey. We've also been playing in between the Kitchener Rangers and the London Night game. So make sure you're following us when you see us on the big screens at the games. Make sure you're following us on Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. Thanks for Andy Sutton for joining us today. Make sure you follow Verbero Hockey on Instagram. Check out their website, verbero.com. I'm your host, Tyler Fines. With me, as always, my co-host, Adam Stiles, Mike Walker, our producer, Matty Huddle in the background. He always makes the magic happen. Marty Zilster with our amazing theme music gets the boys fired up. Andy, stick around. We're going to have a quick chat off air. But this is Off the Puck Hockey, and we're out of here. Well, let's go.
Thanks, Andy.
Make sure to check out our past shows from previous weeks on our YouTube, Facebook, or Mixcloud channels. You can always catch up on podcasts while checking out our FHN Network channel on YouTube or Facebook. Or you can listen to an audio copy of our past shows on our Mixcloud channel at FHN_Network. The FHN Network, the future of entertainment.